show with the Tennessee Volunteers going up against the NC State Wolfpack. Listen, Tennessee couldn't have had a better start to their season than what they had last week. Tennessee had one of the best offenses in the SEC last year, and last week against Chattanooga, they won by a score of 69-63. Tennessee freshman Iamalive, forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he went 22-28, 314 yards with 3 touchdowns. And on the ground, they were led by Sampson with 12 carries, 124 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Thornton Jr. had 3 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. And they had an amazing game offensively, which is something that Tennessee what they did last year. They had, though they were inconsistent, they did have bouts where they were extremely potent, extremely explosive offensively. What hurt them, though, was their inconsistency on the defensive end. And based on what we saw last week from Tennessee, it looked like they shored up some issues they had on the defensive line. And their secondary looks more capable, especially in the zone, which is something they struggled with last year as well. And they look like a much more formidable team than how they looked last year. And them being the SEC, obviously, is going to help boost their resume. It's going to make them look better than possibly what they are. But, something that Tennessee also did well on the offensive side of the ball was throwing the deep ball. And Iamalive was extremely accurate throwing downfield. And that was a surprise for some of us, especially with him being a freshman. But, he had a great start last week, and one thing that I was also impressed with from him was the ability to step up in the pocket and throw accurately, not just within the numbers, but within the seams as well, between tight coverages, against man coverage. He looked very potent. He looked efficient, and it seems to me that he is already in firm control of this Tennessee offense, which could be scary for other teams, especially in the SEC. And they're going against an NC State team who defeated WCU last week by a score of 38-21. McCall went 26 for 40 with 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. Waters had 20 carries for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Concepcion had 9 receptions, 121 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So this is the NC State team that also looked pretty proficient offensively, though defensively they had some issues stopping the run as well as generating pressure from the interior, which could be an issue for NC State going into this matchup against Tennessee, because if you're unable to generate pressure on Tennessee, then you're just going to allow Iamalive to stand in the pocket and pick the secondary apart. And that is going to be the key to this game, this Tennessee matchup against Tennessee-NC State matchup is, will NC State be able to generate pressure against Tennessee? And if they're not, then, like I said, it's going to really hurt the secondary of NC State, which is their weak point on the defensive side of the ball for NC State. Their secondary, they're young, so they're prone to make mistakes, have mental lapses, and I believe that is what's going to happen in this game. I believe Tennessee is going to be able to generate a lot of time in the pocket for Iamalive, and he's going to be able to get throw the ball downfield, off the play action, off the drop back, and it's going to be a lot of explosive plays. I would say that there will probably be about 4 or 5 plays of 20-plus yards for Tennessee, due to the fact that, like I said, that they'll be able to contain, they'll be able to create time, like I said, for Iamalive. And, if we look at matchup predictor on ESPN. Currently, the line has Tennessee -8, and the over/under is at 60.5. So that's right on par with what I am predicting. They believe it'll be a high-scoring game. I don't believe NC State is going to cover. I don't believe that. Don't believe they'll cover. I right now I have this game being 32-17 Tennessee, and I do believe the game will be close in the first half, but towards the middle of the third quarter, that's when Tennessee will start to pull away and really start to make impact on the game and take control of the game, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Don't be surprised if Tennessee, like I said, towards the middle of the third or start of the fourth, goes on a long 12, 15 play drive and completely takes control of the game during that drive. But let me know what you guys think in the chat room. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What do you guys think about this matchup between Tennessee and NC State? Do you guys think it's going to be a close game? Do you guys have Tennessee winning this game, or do you guys have NC State pulling off the upset? And what are your guys' thoughts on NC State? Do you think they're a legitimate team in the ACC? Do you think they have a legitimate chance of winning the ACC? We know how poor or how weak the ACC has looked as of late, especially especially in week one, especially with what happened with Florida State last night against Boston College, and that's a whole other conversation that we haven't even got into. We'll probably get into that tomorrow, but now we have to close to the door. Yeah, like our co-host Dre Pennington says, it's close to the third. I agree with you, Dre. But going back to Florida State, it's listen, that's a whole other conversation that Dre and I are probably going to talk about on our live show on Friday. That the ACC is wide open now, especially with the way Florida State has been playing. They lost 2 in a row, and Clemson, though I do believe Clemson is a little better than what people are saying. I think they just ran up against the best team in the country in Georgia, but Florida State is going to have to do some soul searching right now to turn the season around. In my opinion, the season's already over in terms of any playoff chances and quite possibly any chances of making a bowl game. I just don't see how they'll be able to bounce back, because at this point it's mental, and you can see you can see it by the way they're moving within each play. They look like they don't want to be there. They look just uninterested, and there's a couple of guys on that team that have checked out already, and you have to be careful if you're Mike Norvell in Florida State, because if you're Norvell, you might be on the hot seat. Depending on how you fare this up and in this week, you can't afford to go 0-3 as Florida State, a team that many thought should have been in the playoff last year, but I'm not going to get into that. but yeah, if there's Florida State's in trouble, and I'm going to leave it at that. And I don't know if they'll be able to turn it around. But what does turning around mean for Florida State now? Because, like I said, there's no way they're making a playoff. And I guess turning around could be possibly trying to make a bowl game. So we'll see what happens with that. But let me know what you guys think. Is Florida State done for? I know, like I said, our co-host Dre said that ACC is wide open. I agree with him. I would say the most impressive team in the ACC, though, so far, based off of the first week, Boston College was pretty impressive last night against Florida State. NC State has been impressive as well. And, of Miami, I would probably say I would probably go with Miami based on their performance down in the swamp this past weekend against Florida. So I would say Miami is probably the most impressive team from the ACC so far. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But in our next segment, guys, we are going to be discussing another interesting matchup between the SEC and the Big 12. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.